Hey, everybody, welcome to the Unraveler Show. Although tonight there is nothing to unravel. No video, no controversy, nobody to debate, nothing to show off, no knowledge to be known, no knowledge to be shared, just fun stories as we would tell them around a campfire, except there's no campfire. It's just me and my friend from childhood, Joshua Bowen. Josh, thank you for joining me tonight
Oh
for
my
story
gosh.
time.
Of course. No, it should be good. Happy to be here.
Thank you. It should be. If you are watching and you want to just share comments, laugh with us, ask questions along the way, get them, pop them in there, and we'll try to dialogue with you as best we can. But one of the things that Josh and I were just talking about before we came on is, it's nice to have a friend from your past that has taken a similar journey as you and
Mm.
ended up where we are. That we can actually reminisce a little bit about our past and tell stories and maybe even just remember some of the good times. Because I find a lot of times it's hard to remember those because it was a lot of pain too coming out of it. So I want this to be a fun show. So we're just going to kind of talk about we grew up as teenagers together in the same youth ministry in the same church, and I remember so many funny things that Josh and I got to encounter, and maybe we'll even have some serious things too. Who knows? But it's just it's a memory time for us right now, and it'll allow you all to get to know us a little bit better as well. So that's kind of the goal of this show. Josh, I can kick it off, or I can turn it over to you because I've already talked enough right out the gate. So, do you have anything you want to start off with?
Oh no, I mean I think it'll just make it clear to all those detractors out there that they're going to be tuned in listening for now were they really Christians? Because now let me listen for that. Now, when you accepted Christ, did you have a personal experience? Why can you describe that experience? Yeah, this is what our great fans I'm sure will be listening for.
I
So
am sure you are correct. Yes. And unfortunately, you may not find those answers here because Josh and I may share some stories that you may question our faith.
I don't know, or it'll be absolutely confirmed. Nobody would go ripping a phone book unless they really believed in Jesus.
Ripping a phone book. That is a great start, Josh. Oh my goodness. I told you. Okay, so this takes me back, man. Yes, we did these things. Donald Calder was the youth pastor at our church at the time,
Yeah.
and he brought something. He brought an element to youth ministry that I had never seen before, and it was really cool. We called it ministries. I mean, for lack of a better term, I guess, but that's what we called them. And do you want to go ahead and describe what we did? That way, I'll give you a chance to talk some more.
Yeah, sure. So every Saturday night, and everybody watching, I have MS, so please forgive me if I mess up some of the stuff. The memory part of me doesn't work so good anymore. But I remember it being every Saturday night for 3 hours from 6 to 9, roughly somewhere around there. And there were 3 hours of you either had to pick weightlifting. And I know at this point, I think I weighed like 150, maybe soaking wet. And so now what it was weightlifting, but it was powerlifting, right?
Right.
There's a powerlifting. You did that for an hour, or you did karate, right? And I obviously, I was part of the powerlifting team. God,
I
like
chose
more.
I chose the karate part. That was me. I
Yeah,
did
you were the karate part. You were the brown belt. Is that what you were?
yeah. At the time, I wasn't. I believe I was a red belt with a black stripe, if I'm not mistaken. I
Okay.
was just
All
like
right.
1 degree away from black belt is where I was.
I gotcha. But so you would do it for the first hour, you either did powerlifting or you did karate. And then after that, it was gymnastics. Everybody did gymnastics. And then the third was slam jam.
Dude, slam jam, bro.
Slam jam. Thank you, sweetheart. And we had this long line of mats, like gymnastics mats, and a trampoline, like a 3-foot trampoline. And you would run down with the ball, and you'd bounce off the trampoline, and you'd spin around, you do a flip or something, you slam the ball, and man, Jesus was happy. You know what I'm saying? Like he was all about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's where it was,
Yes,
that's
and the
where it
phone
happened.
book thing you drew attention to at the very beginning was part of the power team thing. And
That's
so
right.
what
Yeah,
we
good.
would do is, and by the way, the title of the show is "We Weren't Always This Cool." So I hope to show by our stories that we're way cooler than we used to be, but that may not happen based on who we are now. And Josh talked about his bad memory. Mine's just as bad. So this may be a 10-minute show. We'll just see how it goes. But dude, like currently, you always look so sharp. Every time I see you, you're like dressed to the nines. You look terrific. And then there's me. It's like, what am I doing? I don't even know. I look like a clown. But yeah, I mean, that's like growing up. If you remember, my mom always used to make me dress up, and you were the one who got to dress.
That's right. That's right. Oh my
So it's like
God.
we completely switched. Like I got tired of that, and you just decided to dress up now. So it's kind of funny. Um, but anyways, back to the slam jam. So what we would do with these ministries is so the Saturday night thing, that was practice essentially. So we would get
Right.
together and we would practice every Saturday night. And it was just fun because of course it was a youth group night and everybody got together. But then like every few months we would actually have a what's called a rally, and we would schedule and we'd go someplace like to a mall or to a park or someplace and set up, and we would promote it and we would draw a crowd, and we would do all of these gymnastics and slam jam and power team and taekwondo, whatever. But part of the practice was developing a routine that was entertaining to people, but not just entertaining. If you remember, it had to have a Jesus message to it, right? There was an evangelistic message to every aspect of these ministries, and that was all. It was part of the point. You draw a crowd, and then you teach them the gospel. So, of course, ripping the phone book, showing the power of Christ, and you guys would rip those phone books. Oh, oh my god! I don't know what you did. Did you like have it? Like I think you guys like had them sliced at the top or something, right? To get it
Yeah,
started.
you would start them, and so there are two stories that I have about the powerlifting section, and again, it's just comical to think about like me being in anything remotely close to powerlifting. But anyway, um, or the power team. So what we do is you kind of pre-tear the top of the pages, and then you try to rip it. You try to rip it, but if you couldn't, you'd grab half of it and you'd start it, and then you'd grab the other half and you go, and then you try to work your way down. Well, I remember we did one of these rallies, but it was to try to convince the older members of the congregation that this was a good thing to do. And I don't know if you remember this one. But we did it in Perry Hall's like big gymnasium or whatever. And I remember I remember every time I would rip, the phone book, I would hold it like this, and then I would tear it. And when you finally finished tearing, it meant that you had this like half of a phone book with all these loose, pages, and you'd kind of throw them out, and the kids would love it. Well, in this particular rally, I happened to grab it like this, and so when I finally ripped through it,
Oh no!
I'm holding the binding, and I went, "Yeah, no!" And this I watched this thing end over end, and there's this poor old woman who was in full support of us.
It's like slow mo.
Boom.
Holy crap, dude! That's so funny.
Where was the Holy Spirit then,
Yeah, I know,
Alan? Where
right?
was the Holy Spirit? So I want to
Holy
know.
smokes, dude. That's such a funny story. I remember one of my really bad moments, and I had quite a few doing the Taekwondo thing, but two in particular that I can think of just this moment, and I'm sure there's a bunch more that'll pop in. But I don't know if you remember the one Ben and I, my cousin Ben, if you remember him and I, used to do this skit where I would play Jesus and he would play Satan.
I just texted you that picture of it so that you
Yes, you
could.
did.
I don't know if you can show it to people. I
Oh
don't know if you can get it up on
man,
screen, but
you know what? Oh, it's on my phone. Let's see if I
oh,
can.
you know what? I might be able. I can just
It
pull
is
it up
there.
for
It
this
is there.
thing.
You know what? I can actually share it right to my. Here, I can share it right to my computer. Hang on one second. Give me a second, folks. This is worth it.
I have this thing framed
If you have it on your
downstairs.
computer and can share it, that's great because I'm trying to get it now.
I
It's
could
not
probably. I tell you what, you tell the story and I'll get it to my computer. I can do
okay.
that.
For some reason, it is not wanting to save to my phone. I'm not. I hate when this happens. I don't know if you ever have that happen to you, but it's sometimes I can't get it to save. So yeah, if you can get it,
I can do
if
it.
you can
Yeah.
get it to. So while he's grabbing that, so what would happen is so Ben and I, my cousin Ben, we had this like skit. I mean, I gotta admit, like, it was pretty cool. Like we had this whole routine, it was all choreographed, but this big fight scene and everything, and at the very end, we would jump in the air like Ninja Gaiden. You remember the ending, the beginning of Ninja Gaiden? We jump up, you'd cross swords, and one of you would die or whatever. And so we had these real wooden practice swords, like those real heavy duty ones that they won't cut you, but they'll certainly hurt if you hit. And I remember one time during practice, Ben and I were doing this, and we were like, we were trying to figure out how we going to do this. I was like, let's just try it and do it,
Right. What could go wrong?
He hit my ankle so hard, dude. I think he fucking
Oh,
broke it. But anyway, that was great practice. But here we are at one of the rallies, right? And it was the end of the scene where after I defeat him and he's down or whatever, I used to walk up and there was we would have 3 center blocks set up, and I would do a ridge hand, a downward ridge
Rich
hand,
hand.
break
Yep.
them, right? Yeah, 3 center blocks. So I mean, that's no easy task, but anyway, so the way Ben tells the story cracks me up because he's pretending to be unconscious. So I've already killed him. So he's just laying there with his eyes closed. And he says the way he describes it, he says, all I heard was, ah, ah, ah,
Oh my God.
I couldn't get through it that day. My hands were so sore. And I am
Ah.
supposed to be Jesus defeating sin, and I couldn't bear. My hands were killing me at the end of that day. I was like, So unfortunately, I never did break those bricks. But then there was this one time where I did break the bricks, but because I was trying to do this so cool and stuff, I wasn't thinking very good at that time.
Right.
Here in the middle of the skit, and I'm trying to think cool. And I don't know if you remember, but he used to wear the sunglasses. And after I defeated him, I had to put the sunglasses on like I was cool.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And I went up to break the cinder blocks, and I actually took his sunglasses and I put them under the cinder blocks. I put the cinder blocks, and these were Oakley's, man, like $200
that's
Oakley's,
rough.
man.
That's rough.
Rubbed them right on his glasses.
That's
And
rough.
he comes on to me later. He's wearing these glasses that are all broken, and one lens is out. And he's like, yeah, what? That was pretty
amazing.
Pretty funny. Here is the picture that Josh was talking about. This is the skit. And so you have me in the front there praying up Jesus. Right behind me is my cousin Ben, who was the guy in the skit with me. And then you'll see right to the left of Ben, there's Josh. So he was in the skit too. So there's Josh and then a guy named Jason and Jack. Who is that behind Ben? I can't remember.
I can't remember his name, and I feel terrible.
I guess I do. So I can't recognize him though. I don't remember who that was.
That's awful because I know that Mark often played this position.
Yeah, but I don't think that's Mark, is it?
No.
No, I didn't think so. I can't tell who that is. Huh. Anyway, whoever it is,
we were pretty awesome.
Whoever it is probably not watching the show anyway. So
probably not. No.
Much offense, but so we had the powerlifting team as a part of this skit sometimes because they were the henchmen of Satan.
Yes, yes.
So that was quite a good time, man. Those ministries, man, they were a blast.
I tell you, I got one more story that I think everybody will appreciate. Is we used to bend rebar. And the way that this worked, if you know anything about rebar, it comes in different thicknesses, right? So you can get, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Those are very different for bending purposes, right?
Right.
So we would get the 1/8 inch pieces. And what you do is, get like a 5-foot section and you'd wrap a towel around it and you put it in your teeth like it, and you'd bend it down like that, right? And then after it kind of looped down, you'd flip it over like this. You put the rounded part down into the hollow of your thigh or whatever, and you you pull it like this, and it looks so difficult. And so I was a senior this particular year, and so I was the biggest and the baddest, right, in the powerlifting team. And you got these freshmen behind me, these little guys. Now, look, if I'm saying they're little, like I was 6'2", like a rail. So like they used to call me chicken legs, right? So it's not like you're looking at Mr. Olympia up here. But Don puts me up in the front, and we are at, what was that camp that we always went to?
Oh, up in Canada there, right in not in Canada, but right there. Oh my goodness, Lake
Mountain View Bible Camp.
Oh, you're talking about that one? I thought you were talking about Lake
Yeah.
or whatever the one we did is.
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
So we're out at Mountain View Bible Camp, and I had like 300 people out there. It was a really big crowd. And Don, he puts me up at the front. And so there's I think 3 of us, 2 freshmen behind me. I can't see them. Everybody can see me. Well, what was the guy's name that was the head of the powerlifting team? I don't remember, but he had gone out, and he would always go out and purchase the bricks, and he would purchase.
Was it Bill Bowles?
No, Bill didn't do it. There's another guy.
Okay.
Ed, maybe? Was there somebody named Ed?
That does sound familiar. Yeah.
Well, he accidentally, I don't know if it was miscategorized, but he picked up a 1/2-inch piece of rebar for me. Now, I don't know any different. So the kids behind me got 1/8-inch pieces. I have a 1/2-inch piece. And Don's like, okay, who needs a new spring for their car? Yeah, Josh will bend it for you. Come on, Josh. Can't get out there. And he's like, all right, everybody, go. And I went. And I stopped. And I mean, like, it looked like this, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And I turn around, and these guys have it like looped twice, they're making little figures out of it. I got one end in the ground, and I'm leaning into it like it's trying to. Oh my God. And it's like afterwards, oops, sorry about that. I'm sure everybody out in the crowd was, I'm sure it's a bigger thickness for Josh. That's why it's difficult. Sure that's what was happening. God. Brilliant.
Folks, dude, that is so funny. Were you there the time? So Don, if you remember, now I'm in college, and I'm doing the intern position at Perry Hall.
Yes.
Youth intern, right? And Don, this is when his father was sick and ends up passing away. So he's up in Canada dealing with all that. And so he leaves me in charge, right? So I'm behind here, right? And there was this one night practice at the ministries one of the Saturdays. And I'm like, all right, guys, this is gymnastics part. And I'm like, I'm going to show you how not to do a Baroni. And a Baroni's the one where you do this and you like, I'm like, thinking I'm funny. I go and I'm off this trampoline. I'm just flailing my legs on purpose to be funny. I come down. I land on the mat with my butt, but my ankle goes flap right on the cement floor. I broke my ankle again.
Oh my gosh. Good grief.
Oh my God, dude. That was so painful. But of course, in that moment, right, the adrenaline's kicking, and I didn't want anyone to know I hurt myself. So I jump up and I'm like, and I take a jog around the gym, and halfway around, I'm like, so bad. And I was supposed to play a trumpet solo that night in church. And Dottie, you remember Dottie Moon, man? She was so mad at me.
How dare you break your ankle, you jerk.
I was supposed to play a trumpet solo. I was like, I can't even stand up. I gotta go to the hospital. Holy smokes, man. That was so funny.
Man, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but Jason Henry, that was the big guy for everybody watched. That was the big guy over on the other side in that picture. We used to do this thing. Like, we were super cool. Like, I don't want anybody to get any misconceptions here. Like Mark Voles and I, we'd go to Rehoboth Beach, and we'd walk we'd take our shirts off, so that people could see the 140 pounds as it was. And we would walk up to these girls and we'd say, could you hold our shirts for a second? And they'd give you this really weird look and they'd hold it. And we'd both do a back handspring away from them. And then we'd say, thank you very much. And we'd turn and walk away. And I mean, like, oh man, we're so cool. They want us so bad. I know it. But, praise Jesus, but Jason, we used to do this thing where I would run up to him and he would put his hands out like this. And I'd put my foot in and he'd throw me and I'd jump like in a pool or something, except, out on the gym floor. And I'd do this big backflip in the air and land. Well, he was into somebody at the time. And even now, like, I don't want to say her name. It's like, I haven't talked to him in like 10 years, but I don't know if he'd be cool with me saying this. So he was into somebody. And
I know exactly who it was, but I won't say it either.
As I run up to him, this person passes behind me and, he loses focus a bit and he doesn't actually throw me. So I jump off of his stationary hands, not realizing that I've just jumped off of his stationary hands. I do this big backflip and land right on my head.
Oh. Ouch.
So I'm lying there on the mat and Don comes running over. Now I can feel like I'm fine. I can feel everything, it seems, but I don't move. And the way I hit, like, you would be worried.
Yeah.
So I was such an asshole. He's like standing over top of me. Josh, you okay? Can you move? Can you move? And I went, and I grabbed his leg.
God.
I was just such a bad person, but Jesus had saved me.
Dude.
So it was fine. It's fine. All good.
Man.
I prayed, after that.
Oh my goodness, dude! There were not all good memories with those gymnastics and ministries and stuff. Do you remember Don Brewer? He was one of the other youth ministries from Boston that we used to team up with sometimes and do rallies with.
That sounds familiar.
Maybe the story will jog your memory, because remember that one of the things they used to do was they used to take wooden rods and put them against their throat right here in that little hole below the Adam's apple. And they'd have somebody press against it and they'd snap the rod in half. And this one time, the rod broke too close to his throat and it went right into his throat. Got rushed to the hospital in the middle of a round. Do you remember this? You don't remember that?
No. Oh my gosh.
Smokes. Yeah, that was in Boston that we did one of these rallies. I don't know if you were with us that trip. Oh my goodness.
Man.
That was pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, this is the same brilliant set of things where you would and suspend ourselves over two metal folding chairs. You remember this? And you'd have one end of the metal on your back of your neck, and then your ankles would be on the other. You're just suspended, and they'd take a concrete block, cinder block, and put it on your chest. And they'd take a sledgehammer, and they'd break the cinder block. Now, that looks really cool. Of course, it's not all that impressive once you understand the physics of it. Not that I do, but apparently it's not impressive. So, but Mark decided, we always had like an adult doing the sledgehammering. Well, Mark wanted to do it one day. So I'm suspended. I'm sitting, and he takes that hammer and brings it down on that block. And everything was fine, except that when it exploded up into my face. All these chunks of concrete. Or when we would set them on fire. Do you remember this? We would break these blocks. You'd stack them up and you'd break the blocks with your forearm, and it was so tough. And what we did is we decided one day to spray lighter fluid all over it and set it on fire, right? But the way you did it, if the top of the bricks were here, you'd you'd kind of line it up, right? You'd do a couple of practice just to kind of get where you go. Well, this thing is on fire. And I went, wow. The
Dude,
dumbest human beings.
we weren't so smart when we were that age, man. I'm not so sure we're much smarter, but I can tell you what, I don't try and jump off roofs anymore. So
Oh
maybe
my
I've gained
God.
a little bit of wisdom.
Well, but the big thing that you have to remember that we made up for all of this thing, all these things by forming that band, and you guys did it better. But Mark and I and somebody else that I don't remember.
I don't know if we did it better, bro. We just did it
Well,
different.
you actually wrote your own songs.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
rewrote Nirvana songs, right? And so we had, instead of Mary's Lips, right? Isn't that what we had? Jesus Lips. So it
Jesus,
was
of
Kiss, Kiss,
course.
Jesus Lips. It was about Judas, really deep. You know what I mean? Or About a Girl. It was about Jesus or something.
About the
like,
Lord or something.
and we're playing the exact same song. We're just changing a couple of words here and there. And man, we thought we were doing something. Yeah. So
Did you guys ever play any gigs? Because I don't even.
no. I mean, yeah, we played a Sunday school class one
It's Sunday
time.
school classes. Gotcha.
Just once.
Man, we played. I remember playing one time in the backyard of the Voles' house.
I remember. I have pictures of it.
I'm sure you do. I have pictures of that one too. Your sister actually took quite a few of those and sent them to me. But yeah, that was embarrassing. Man, bro, you know what's the most embarrassing thing about Patmo's Vision? Well, that was what it was originally called, and later on, when they finally actually recorded an album and started to take off a little bit, they were called Ruby Zoo. But they changed their name to Ruby Zoo after I left the band. Bro, you know what the hardest thing to realize is that we absolutely sucked until I left the band. Soon as I left, they were like, "Phew!"
That's rough,
man. They recorded. They had a huge following. They were amazing. God. They almost actually had a whole contract and everything, but the guy from Capitol, whatever Records, ended up like leaving, and then it went south. But like, yeah, bro, like they were really awesome after I left.
Oh, that sucks. We had a lot of very talented people at that church. Shit, what was his name? John Mayer at Custom Blend. Did you ever hear or see them play Custom Blend?
No,
it's not John Mayer. Who am I thinking of?
Say John Mayer. Hey, dang, he was
not Aaron and John. What
Mauer. John Mauer. Yeah.
Mauer, yeah.
Dude, my goodness, talk about all the talent wrapped up in one family.
That guy could play the piano and sing, and I've got a couple of his albums.
Dude, him and JT, that band that they had, holy smokes. Yeah, that was some serious talent.
And I know Mark played the guitar for him for a while. We saw him up in Baltimore.
Mark actually joined Ruby Zoo for a while. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. He was phenomenal on the guitar.
John Hardesty ended up leaving, and so Mark took over, and they toured for a while with Mark. Yeah, they wrote like 4 songs, but they never actually ended up recording an album with him. But yeah, he was quite talented. Mark was amazing. Mark was great.
I reached out to him, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago. I tried to message him, I think, on Facebook. I talked to Jason Meistring on the phone.
Wow,
which was nice. Yeah. He seems to be doing
going
pretty
on with
well.
him? How's he doing?
Yeah, he seems to be doing okay. He's in really good shape, like the shape that we all wish that we had been in.
He's doing powerlifting for real, then.
He's doing it for real. God.
He's not just ripping phone books by the page.
But it looks so impressive, right? Or popping those soda cans. Oh my God. And then drinking from the eye.
That's right. The soda. Yeah. Wow, man. That was some fun. Dude, it was amazing. Do you remember Sean Mahan? He was Don's nephew or cousin. I can't remember. He was the first. He would do a double flip and slam dunk.
I remember that person. I didn't. Yeah,
that was who he was. Yeah, and then
Alan, we were all like, can Jesus really be with him? Because we're all very angry at him for being able to do this double flip and slam the ball. That's like he must be sinning somehow, because Satan is certainly powering it must be the trampoline we don't have that same trampoline. That's what it is. It's
That's
not
right.
the
Yeah.
talent.
Everything we wanted to do, he'd walk in and be like, "Oh, here, let me do it." And he just, and we'd all be like, "Man, you suck." We couldn't stand it.
Look,
Man.
I can do a 360 dunk. Look at me. Boom. And he's, oh, is that right? I mean, just,
Yep.
yeah, that was
And
that guy.
he was doing triple flips for the gymnastics part. And I don't know if you remember, but in New York, you guys. So I was a youth pastor. Was it? Yeah, I was already a youth pastor in New York, and I had your team come up there and do a rally. Were you there still at that time? I can't remember.
I
It was
doubt
at
it.
the Palisades Mall. It was like that 4-level mall.
Okay.
You don't remember? I don't remember that because I was
No.
doing ministries with my church as well at the time as a
Okay.
youth pastor. So I had introduced it to my group, and then I had both groups come together and do a rally. Anyway, that was the first time that I landed a triple flip.
Wow.
And I got lucky that I actually landed it, but stupid me, instead of like doing it in practice first, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. Fortunately, I landed it. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it, dude. I was like in utter shock. I was like, yes.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it really was. It really was, man. That was something. Oh my God, man. The memories are just unbelievable. I just had so much fun. Nigel Taylor actually says, he says, this brings back memories. I remember the power team coming to our Assemblies of God Church in Adelaide, South Australia back in 80s or 90s. So I know what he's talking about. Do you remember the power team? That it was like a professional.
Yeah, these were the real ones that we were trying to. The ones that would take the axes, and like lower the pointed axes down to their eyeballs or something, and hold them there. Yeah, those guys. They actually did something, right? They were strong.
Right.
we had Jesus, but
But they had the Lord.
Yeah,
that's what did it. The power.
That's what it was.
Holy smokes, dude. Oh man. All right. So then there's Beyond's that. So now we got Patmo's Vision, we got your band, and I don't know what you got. Like, I don't know if this was a competition you got. I don't know what was going on, but I guess you guys just needed to have a band. I don't know. But anyway, we were just like terrible. But we ended up getting a little bit of a following. I don't know how, because like I said, the band was amazing. The lead singer was terrible.
You're so funny.
Come on, bro. You gotta admit, it was pretty bad.
I thought it was great.
Yes. You had some. That's before good music came around. That's probably why. but anyway, it was a lot of fun. We did have some good times. But did you ever? I can't remember if you ever were one of the teens that actually preached one of the sermons during a youth service. Did you ever do that? I can't remember. I did that a couple of times, and I really enjoyed that.
It sounds like something I would have done.
Of course, me too.
But I mean, we weren't real Christians, but that was to try to mask it, because I was suppressing my truth and unrighteousness. So, but I had to somehow get it. But yeah, I just remember Chris Rice. Do you remember Chris Rice?
I do. I actually talked to him not so long ago. But go ahead.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember I ran. Now, what was his name? The youth pastor before Don Calder. Tim Parsons.
Tim Parsons. Yeah. By the way, he passed away?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say I saw that somewhere from COVID, I think.
Yeah, something either that or he just had a heart attack or something or cancer. I can't remember what it was.
I thought I read that it was COVID related.
Was it COVID? Okay, maybe you're right. I trust your memory more than mine.
You shouldn't.
but trust me, if you knew my memory, I should.
But I remember Tim had a great deal of faith in me because he let me run Wednesday Night Live, the sound for Wednesday Night Live.
Oh wow!
And but I ended up continuing to do that. But that meant that our staple was Big House by Audio Adrenaline. That's what we played like every Sunday school, every meeting. It was Big House, and I can always every time I hear that song, I still listen to it today. I see Chris Rice going, big house. And he was like 6'4". And so like there was this huge span when he would do it, big house. Yeah. It was great.
Totally, dude. Now, do you remember Joe Perry? He was the youth pastor back with Jim Atwell and Jerry Marcelino. Were you there? You were there.
I don't know.
That was before the big split that happened at Perry Hall.
Okay, maybe not.
You don't remember Joe Perry? Because Joe Perry was the youth pastor, I think, right before Parsons.
So I would have gotten there in the 5th grade. So that would have been, let's see if I can do the math here. 79, 84, roughly 89, 90.
Okay, I don't remember the years he was there, but
Come on, Alan. You
yeah,
know.
I know, right? But Joe was awesome, and I just met up with him recently because he doesn't live that far from me. I couldn't believe I was shocked. I was like, what? Anyway, he's also left Christianity. Go figure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when your youth pastor leaves, that's kind of wild. I mean, now I kind of get the idea. Like for me, it was great because I was already an atheist when I found that out. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is wonderful.
Right.
None of my previous teens think this is so wonderful.
No, no.
They're all a little pissed at me. And
Yeah.
yeah, you probably have some of those too, huh?
Yeah. A couple.
Yeah,
It's
it's not that
unfortunate.
wonderful.
No.
And even though you try to tell them, hey, look, read my book. No, we don't need to read. You're always out to make money is their idea. You never were a
Yeah,
Christian.
of
You're just always
course.
changing your views, just always trying to make a buck or just always trying to stir up trouble. You're just like,
Let me just tell you, if the reason we're doing this is to make a buck, epic fail. Like, epic fail.
epic.
Yeah. Doesn't really work that way.
No, absolutely epic fail. But Don and not Don, Pastor Moon and Dottie have both passed away. You're aware of that?
Oh no. Huh?
Okay, yeah, they passed away. It's been a number of years, but they're both gone. In fact, so interesting story. When I was attending Reformed Theological Seminary, I was living in Fort Myers, Florida. I was a youth pastor, and that's about 4 hours away from Oviedo, which where the seminary was. And even though I was doing mostly virtual classes, they required you to attend campus some certain amount of hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a course that only was offered on campus, and it was only on Mondays. And I had to drive 8-hour round trip for a 1-hour class every Monday, right? Man, that sucked so bad. So I was doing this right every Monday, and then I come to find out they actually live in Orlando, not exactly Orlando. Where was it? Anyway, one of those little cities around Orlando. And I was like, oh man, this is great. So I was able to stay with them overnight. So I didn't have to drive
my gosh.
8 hours, but so I still have to drive 4 hours the next day. So it was still kind of annoying, but at least it was, a little bit of a break. But that was really nice. Like right before they passed, I had some time to actually spend with them. And so that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to know them a little bit. Of course, at that time I was already reformed and moving towards full preterism. And, Pastor Moon didn't care for either of those.
And it's weird because you probably, oddly enough, knew everything about everything, right? So it's really
everything about everything. That's right.
I mean, I remember it's weird how that sort of changes. But there was a time that I actually knew everything as well. So something happened. I must have gotten hit in the head or something. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. It's kind of funny you say that because now my standard answer is I don't know.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty much where I live, in the I don't know zone, whereas before I just had all the answers.
I swear, Alan, it's funny because my seminary education was at a very fundamentalist evangelical school just outside of DC. And one of the things that particularly evangelicals, but certainly fundamentalist evangelicals do is because they're not bothered by having to learn things like critical scholarship or, things like the archaeological background to things. You sort of have all this free time in your education. They're like, well, what are we going to fill all this with? Languages. Just master the languages, right? We know Moses wrote this shit. We don't have to do documentary hypothesis nonsense. Why waste your time, right? So just do some more Greek, do some more Hebrew. So it was one of the real strengths of my training, but that meant that I did 6 years of graduate level Greek. I mean, I taught some Greek while I was there, but we were trained, I translated through Hebrews. We took a course in Hebrews, and Hebrews is no joke. But even with all of that, 6 years of grad school for Greek and Hebrew, When people ask me questions about the New Testament, because I haven't had formal education in the New Testament since my deconversion, I just say it's not my field. The reason that I do is, even though I can read the text to you, um, I don't know if what I'm going to say about it comes from like something that I've learned from listening to somebody like Bart Ehrman or, another critical scholar, or if it's just coming from my fundamentalist training. I'm not trained enough to know. And so, so I'll be like, well, yeah, it says this in the Greek, but I don't really want to say much more than that because I don't, it's not my field. Uh, which, then the person that you're talking to is very often somebody who doesn't know the language at all, but has blue letter Bible. And so then they say, well, you don't know what it says in the Greek. It actually says this. You're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Live your best life, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure, I can do the same thing with Greek as you're suggesting. I can read it still, and I can have my opinion on what it says. But I'm with you, man. Like because I'm not invested in it and inundated with it. Mostly because I just don't care anymore. Like to
Mm,
me, I don't have the time to invest in learning this sustaining this ancient language for something
yeah,
that's not going to affect my life anymore.
yeah,
I just lost a lot of it, and
yeah, yeah,
in a way it's sad because I mean I spent so much money and so much time invested in this venture of the Bible and every
yeah.
aspect I could learn Hebrew, Greek, and all the theology and memorization. I probably knew half the Bible by memory, when I was a Christian, but I just it's just not interesting to me anymore. So,
Mm.
now I find myself fumbling over like, oh man, what was that verse again? It's I can it's frustrating, but it is what it is, man, because
Yeah.
it's just not a part of my life anymore.
This is what's nice, I think. It's a real blessing, Alan. It's a real blessing for me that I get to still do. I get up every morning at 4:30 and do like Akkadian and Sumerian flashcards, right?
Right.
Like I'm teaching. I taught uh, my Hebrew class today, so I'm still very much with it, but I do find it interesting, and I have an actual like a connection that I can go online and hey, this is interesting to me in the same way that the Epic of Gilgamesh is interesting to me. But in this case, I get to do counter apologetics, which is
Right.
super fun.
Yes.
So
Yes. That part is fun.
yeah,
And you enjoy it more in the languages aspect and the ancient Sumerian and stuff. So I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, that was your field to begin with. So obviously you enjoy that.
yeah,
My field was more of the theological aspects, especially New Testament theology. And
yeah,
so, sure, if you want to sit down with me and, try to have a theological debate, I can still demonstrate to you why full preterism is the best position, whoever you are,
right,
whatever. But at the end of the day, even that has flaws. And so I just got to a point where I'm just like, I just don't care to retain.
right.
I mean, my mind is just not, as we can demonstrate through this show already, I don't have the mental capacity to remember so much information anymore. So I have to pick and choose what I try to
All
retain.
right,
And, and, and that's just quickly going away, dude, because I don't,
Alan, stop dating us. Stop dating us. We're still very young.
we're still very young. Oh man, well, you're much younger than me. I don't know about you. I don't know. But how old are you now? I'm
Yeah,
48. You are
45. Yeah,
45. Yeah, we're
45.
not that far
Yeah,
apart. 33 years. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know what's going to happen to you at 48. Maybe nothing. You might still have that great ability to recall certain things, but not me, man. And part of it's just part of it for me also is ever since leaving Christianity and realizing that there's a whole world out here of information that actually has data and
mm,
and evidence. I've just really decided to try to fill my mind with that
yeah,
information.
yeah,
So I just don't have the capacity to remember all of those false things that don't
yeah,
affect my life because now I'm trying to fill my mind with things that do matter.
yeah,
So that's kind of where I'm at now. But so I currently just use my philosophical mind to help people realize that they don't really have any evidence for faith and hope to take it that approach. But I'm grateful for people like you that have the ability to do what you do because you're hitting people I could never hit, never, or what I mean, like so.
Well, and you're certainly doing the same. I like you said philosophy, and I like, man, there's something. If it resonates that way, man, I don't know if you know who Danny Philtalk is, but he just did a debate on shit. What's that guy's name? Pierce Morgan. The Pierce Morgan show was yesterday, I think, with he and what's that guy's name? Can't remember his partner's name, but they Jay Dyer and Andrew something. Um, but anyway, Danny's a big philosophy guy, incredibly bright. And I was just texting with him this morning, and I was like, I was telling somebody recently how you like were very kind and tried to work with me privately to get me spun up on philosophy, just like basic philosophy. And you were fucks. I could not give, Alan. I'm just like, I don't care. Oh my God, I don't care. Right? Like,
Dude, isn't that interesting? Just
yeah.
different desires, different interests, and that's what makes the
I
world
hear
go round.
metaphysics and I'm like,
That's
put
so,
me out in an archaeological dig site, man. Like, I'm good. I'm
just
good.
give me a half-inch rebar, man. Just that's all I want right now.
I wish somebody had recorded that shit.
I do
Oh
too,
my
man.
God. I'll bet it was like my shining moment.
I do too. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, was that the event that we did at? It was at a park, and I vaguely remember it was a park, like it was kind of like a downtown area, and there was like I don't know, the bathrooms were like over here somewhere in this building, and we were over here set up. Is it some? Do you remember it? Was it at a park that you had?
I thought it was at
You
Mountain
think that was a
View,
Mountain View? Okay.
but I mean that's just something that's been in my brain for a while, but
Well,
it doesn't mean anything.
sure. I mean, sure. I mean, our stories are hard to. We had so many of these memories. I can't remember which event happened. What?
I
I mean,
mean, look, this is I remember one of the early things that I did at Perry Hall. Shit, you might have been there. Did you go to Mexico? Did you do that mission trip to Mexico? Um, with it would have been with Tim Parsons.
no, I did a mission trip to Mexico, but that was when I was a youth pastor. So no, it was not that trip.
Okay.
I did not
And I
go.
mean, like, we went down there and looking back, it was just horrific. But like, we memorized the plan of salvation. Um, and then, but in Spanish. And then we had little, little bookmark where you'd start here at this passage. And then you'd read the Spanish out loud, which I'm sure we absolutely massacred the Spanish pronunciation. And then we had this little thing that we hand wrote in there, and we said like, "Has recibido a Jesus Cristo en tu corazón? Le gustaría?" That's exactly what it sounded like too. Yeah. And I mean, like, we had the balls to come back afterwards, and be like, we led 300 people to Jesus. Yeah,
Oh
like, hey, we had 300 trolls like laughing at our asses. Is what we had. Yeah, I want him in my corazon.
my
Corazon, my
God.
friend.
Dude, I do
God.
remember what you're talking about because that was Tim Carnes. He offered that whatever that course was called. It was becoming a discipler or something. That's what you're talking about, right? Where you went through this course and you got
Yes,
an
that's
official
right.
card and you were allowed to
Yep.
actually be. Yeah,
Yep.
I do remember that. I remember that. I remember you joined that. I can't remember if I did or not, but I remember you did. I do
Yeah.
recall that, but I don't remember if I did.
Of course, Perry Hall was the place that I got expelled from. I don't know if you ever knew that.
And
Uh,
Fairwell Christian School, you mean?
yeah.
Real? What? No, I did not
Yeah.
know this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Now what was that principal's name? I don't remember it, but we had an art teacher who was from Egypt. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, but I remember there was a young man that we were absolutely nightmarish to. And everybody got made fun of for some feature, right? I had these big ears. So they used to call me Dumbo. And Antoine, what was the thing about Antoine? I don't remember. But there was a guy named Chad, and I don't know if you ever knew Chad, but Chad had like a what would be considered a very nice, now thinking back about it, like dimple in his chin, right? But of course, being what, sixth or seventh graders, it was a butt chin. And like, we were relentless with this poor kid.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was awful. And I remember that I had to write out 700 times during lunch and recess. The seventh grade class needs to learn to get along with one another.
You had to write that?
700 times. The
What?
seventh grade class needs to learn to get along with one another. I will never forget that sentence,
Holy
obviously.
smokes.
But yeah, they they expelled me, uh, which is really weird thinking back, given my temperament. Uh, yeah, I was just a fucking bully in the seventh grade, which is I like awful to think back about. You know what I mean? But yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said all this publicly. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Chad, if you're watching, I really am very sorry. Like, that's not funny at all, because it was just straight up bullying and it was awful. Um,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
as I said, we weren't always this cool.
you're
So
right. God.
we expect to see some crappy stories here. So you were the bully, and I don't know if you recall, but I was not exactly the most popular kid ever. Um,
Really?
yeah, never. Eric always was the popular one. Uh,
Eric Vols.
yeah, yeah, because he was the good looking, the one all the girls wanted to be with. You go into the room and it was like I was invisible until I'd open my mouth, and then they'd make me look stupid. So that was kind of my thing. I never did have much of a reputation. In school, I was always picked on.
Mm.
Um, and of course, because I was so passionate about the Bible, which here's another, example of how ridiculous it is when people tell me that I was never a Christian or
Yeah.
didn't actually believe. I was so passionate that I was willing to take my Bible to school just to represent Jesus and show everybody how much I loved him. And
Oh
of
yeah.
course, that was a really bad idea, because then that just, escalated, the degradation.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
called me even more and called me Bible Boy. That became my nickname for a couple years.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so that was pretty much me. I never managed. I don't know why. It's like I've never been able to understand bullying and how it works. Maybe you can explain it since you were the bully. I don't know, but like, why is it like you walk into a school, and like even in the new year, everybody's fresh, and somehow it's like they all get together and say, "That's the guy we're gonna pick on." And you're just like,
Mm.
"What? What did I do?" And you just become that guy.
Yeah. I mean,
What is
I don't. So this is the thing. Like, I never realized that I was right, and the thing is, I it was in that case, it was absolutely like a group mentality, which is what made it so bad for Chad. Um, because it was never just one of us, right? It was like this group thing, and we'd all make fun of each other, but I think it was clear that it affected him the
Oh,
most.
right.
And so then it became, like, he'd get really angry and we'd think that was funny as a group. It's just by the way, I got my due. I was incessantly bullied throughout high school.
Yeah.
um yeah,
Wow.
like, I was people would I remember one guy leaned back like this in his chair in like 11th grade and took his pen and clicked it out and stabbed me in the back of the head with it. uh
Oh,
people would people would walk by while I was doing my work and they'd slap me across the face from behind. Uh,
good lord, dude.
yeah, it was bad, but I will. So, like, I paid my dues maybe, but that doesn't obviously do anything for Chad. And again,
Mhm.
I hope I can remember his last name at some point and then at least try to apologize for
No,
my
it's I
part in
mean,
that shit.
Look, I mean, dude, I mean, if anybody needs Oprah from something that happened when they were teenagers, you got bigger issues than just somebody that bullied you for a bit. I mean, like everybody has gone through crappy times in life. You gotta figure it out, man. And you get older and you gotta work through it. Get some therapy. It's just that's part of it. You can't feel guilty about every decision you made as a teenager. We were all idiots, man. We did stupid
Yeah,
things.
that's
Um,
true.
I mean,
But
it's
I,
sad. It's no excuse, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, you can't go back in time and be like, well, if I'd have just known. I mean, there's so many factors that play into that, and most of the time, it's just trying to find a name and a place for yourself. Because, I mean, let's face it, most of us in our teenage years, we just feel out of place. We don't know where we
yeah,
belong. We don't know, especially as a Christian, because if you remember, I mean, the degradation, we're nothing, we're worthless. So
yeah, yeah,
with all that playing in, especially, as a teenager, I would have done anything to fit in, which is why I would get in trouble a lot in school because I would do stupid things like, I'm supposed to be in a play and I'm supposed to be on stage, and instead I'm in the bathroom taking a dare from some of the cool kids saying, "Climb the wall, I dare you." Okay, I'll do anything to be cool. So I am climbing the wall, and then in walks a teacher, and I get in trouble because I'm, climbing
gosh,
the wall. You do anything you can to get any sort of worth
yeah,
whatsoever when you have
yeah,
this idea that you're worthless.
yeah,
So and until you get a little older and you can understand the theology behind Jesus being your worth, you really don't feel like you have any worth as a teenager,
yeah,
and as a kid. So I really struggled with that growing up. So I'd
yeah,
have done anything, and probably if I could have become the bully, I probably would have.
yeah.
Not that I'm proud of that idea, but I may have just to have found some worth in myself.
Survival. I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, and I suspect there. We moved, I think, 13 times
Phew.
during before I hit high school. So I mean, like I'm sure there's some stuff underneath of all of that, but I do hope that I get to meet Chad someday and apologize to him. But it's funny you mentioned Eric because he and I went to Air Force chaplain basic training together, which I thought
Wow.
was really funny because it was totally by happenstance. Like it certainly wasn't planned. Um, but yeah, what was he? He was PC PCA maybe or PCUSA.
Well, I think originally, but then he ended up Episcopalian.
Maybe, yeah, but during that
During that
time, I
time,
thought
yeah,
I thought
okay, yeah,
that's what he was.
yeah, probably
But,
PCP, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, we were, that was a fun time.
That's
Um,
interesting. So you guys hooked up again in the military.
yeah,
That's wild,
yeah,
dude.
it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
So he was my college roommate too.
No, I didn't know that. That's
We
cool.
Yeah, we were in the same dorm together. Yeah, he actually saved my life. I don't know if you know. Like, so I had I got pneumonia one of these times in college. I don't know what happened, but I had 105-degree temperature, bro. You
Good
realize what that is?
grief.
Like that's like on the brink of death, and
Wow.
like I'm like rolling out, and I was top bunk. So, just to go to the bathroom, I had to like literally roll over and just fall, 6 feet to the ground and crash and crawl to the bathroom. He came in and found me and called my parents. I think that's what saved me. Like they took me to the hospital and they like fixed me. Like I would have been a
Good
mess.
grief.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. So
Wow.
yeah, I was grateful he was my roommate because boy,
Yeah.
that could have been a nightmare.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. Man.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we got some good stories and some bad stories.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, I
Huh.
mean, as far as the pick on thing, yeah, I got picked on quite a bit, dude. It was rough. It was rough. I got punched. I got beat on. Much similar to
Mm.
your thing. I got banana peels thrown down my shirt. I got people coming in the hallway. Start punching me. Stupid
Yeah.
stuff. Making fun of me. Girls that were paid to pretend like they were my girlfriend until everybody was around,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was rough, man. But I just I don't I'm not mad at any of those people. It is what you're all trying to find value in some way, and you just make mistakes, and they're also part of their upbringing. They also have certain
Sure.
circumstances that they were part of. So, I had to go through therapy for myself just to figure
Yeah.
out my life and who I was. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think you were going to say something good.
Oh, no, I was saying that, like, that part might have been the worst, because there were 2 girls, I don't remember their names, but they were seniors, I think, and I was, like, or maybe they were in 11th grade and I was ninth grade, and I remember we had these lockers that came off of the brick wall, So when my locker was down at the edge near the brick wall. So when you went down in there, like you had to come back out the way you came. There wasn't like going around another way because there was just a wall there. And I remember I was opening up my locker, and the two of them came down and like pushed their bodies up against me and were like touching me, right? And yeah, I'm like ninth grade, and I'm thinking, I what does this mean? Right? What? How should I be reading this?
Right, right.
And so when they finally left, I was like, okay, um, I do they like? I guess they like me. And I don't know. And then come to find out, of course, it was just a big joke, and their boyfriend came and beat me up, and
Oh,
it was really great.
yeah,
But
that really sucks. That really sucks.
yeah,
So everybody watching, if you are interested in asking Josh or I any questions or want to just make some final comments, go ahead because we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. I'm sure we could continue to talk, but I know that we definitely want to end this at some point because this isn't intended to be like a 3-hour discussion or anything. It was just
right.
to reconnect and just have some fun and just
Yeah,
maybe
the next time, Alan, the next time that we come on, it's going to be, slavery.
yes.
We're gonna really get into something really fun. God, I cannot believe that's the course of my life here. Right, as I've become the guy that talks about slavery in the Hebrew Bible. That's my thing. Is
Yep. But it's a good thing
how
it's your thing because honestly, I'm still shocked at how many Christians I dialogue with, even on my channel, that either deny that slavery was in the Old Testament or that it was even chattel slavery, that indentured servitude was an okay thing.
yeah
Like
yeah
I just
yeah
like I talk to people, I'm like, do you hear yourself right now? You'll
yeah
do anything to defend this God. It is
yeah.
mind blowing.
It
Um,
really is.
so yes, I mean there is a couple of guys that we're supposed to be doing this chat with, Lance Conley and William Vincent. We
Mm.
do have a show planned. We're just waiting on the schedule of the other two guys, so we are going to be having a chat on slavery between them and us. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be
But yes,
good.
you bringing your expertise will be wonderful on that because, bro, like it is absolutely clear as day. And I don't even need to know the ancient language to realize how clear it is in the Bible. But
Mm.
I'm glad you're going to bring what you know because not only the ancient language, but you know the history there. So
No. Well,
um,
there's somebody in the chat, Michael Beverly, who just put out
let's look it up.
a really great video. So you might know him. There's a Christian apologist by the name of Michael Jones, Inspiring Philosophy.
Okay.
He put out a video. Now, the video is sort of outside of my area of specialization. It's more about the history of more modern slavery. But the Michael's video, Michael Jones, Inspiring Philosophy, his video is sort of arguing that slavery ended because of Christianity. Like it wouldn't have ended without Christianity. And so Michael had Dr. Kip Davis on, um, and I was gonna try to make it in. Megan was feeling pretty sick yesterday. Still, I wasn't feeling amazing either. But anyway, they had a great show. I've still gotta make my way through it. But yeah, people should definitely go watch that video. It's anything that Michael and Kip do together is gonna
Well,
be fantastic. So
Michael says Kip is the reason it shines, but I'll take credit for making it happen. That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that show. That's going to be a good
yeah.
one. And I'm sure I will learn a lot from you as well. I'm going to be just kind of like the co-pilot on that one, just watching you do your thing. But I'll be here for the philosophical side if they try to
Yes.
defend that there's some kind of
That's where
moral.
I'll need you, my friend. Once they say, can you instantiate the necessary preconditions of the provisions of possible and possibilities of the ground of all being? I'm gonna be like, Alan, mute.
Too funny. Oh man. Well, this was fun, dude.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed. I've missed you, dude. It was so fun catching up. And I cannot tell you once again how refreshing it was when I came out of Christianity and
Yeah.
found that you were here too, man. Like, dude, like you had already been out for a few years, but man, dude, like just there's just something comforting about
Yeah.
someone you have history with that you also trust and know has a brain
Yeah.
that also did this. And you're just like, it just feels right, you know? So
I don't know if you know or if I've told you about him. There was a rap group, Christian rap group called Cross Movement, and I don't know if you were
I've
familiar
heard
with
of
them.
that. Yes, I actually heard of him.
One of the artists was a guy named Fanatic. That was his artistic name. I don't know what. Anyway, his name's Brady Goodwin,
Okay.
and Brady deconverted 3 years ago now, maybe. Michael can correct me on that in the side chat if it's been longer than that. But anyway, he and I are pretty good friends now, Brady and I, and really sharp guy. I mean, really sharp guy. And I'd be happy to connect you guys because I think you guys would have a good conversation as well. But again, super sharp and really, I think does a lot of good work in the community. Sort
Cool.
of doing the same thing that you do. And he has a book out. Uh, Let There Be Gaslight is the title. Let There Be Gaslight,
That's
which is
good.
really good. Yeah,
That's
it's really
really
good.
good. That's really good title. I like that.
So yeah. Oh,
I
good.
like,
And Michael says,
yeah, a
he's
little bit over
streaming
3 years,
now.
but
Cool.
yeah, pretty
Yeah,
close.
nice, nice.
Next Saturday, 1 week from today, he's streaming with me talking about rap and hip hop. That sounds fun.
Nice. Yeah,
Cool.
hell yeah.
Sounds good. But yeah, feel free to send me his info and try to connect us
Yeah,
because I'd love to have him interview on my show too. I would love to
yeah.
get to know him. And
Yeah, he's a
uh,
great guy to have
yeah,
on.
any story we can share, man. At this point, I think for the most part, one of the things that makes it so hard to leave Christianity, and I think this is the primary reason people have a hard time letting go, is community.
Yeah,
They fear losing their community. So if they
yeah,
can find that there is actually a world of people out here that are leaving and building this new community, it might make it a little easier. So
yeah,
I love sharing stories like this.
yeah. Well,
So
awesome. Awesome.
totally great, Josh. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate
Of
you being on
course.
the Unraveling Show. Everybody, there's no ending to this video. We're not going to be doing some outro. This has just been fun. There was no unraveling happening. It was just Josh and I embarrassing ourselves, giving you a
Right.
chance to get to know us a little bit better. And we hope that you feel close to us as a result. So we will see you again soon. Everybody,
Yep.
have a good night.
Take care.